Celebrating 65 years of great road racing with all the top drivers, the dramatic series, and challenging events. Watkins Glen International plays host to round 6 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge for 2013. Welcome to the Continental Tire 150 from the Glen. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha, along with Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader. Summer may just be a few days old, but we're already at the halfway point of the Continental Tire season. 5 races run, 2 classes per race, Grand Sport and Street Tuner. Do the math. That's 10 opportunities to take a victory, but thus far this year, only one team has won twice, Calvin, and they look to be rounding into championship shape.
Absolutely, Bob, and that's the Rum Bum team. They're the target that everyone is chasing right now. They're having a perfect championship run. 3 podiums, including 2 wins. They've also only had 1 blip on their radar. That was at Road Atlanta when they got hit, but still salvaged a 10th place run. So they're ticking all of the boxes. They've got a great car, 2 great drivers, and a man on the box, Giovanni. He makes the right calls. When you need a little bit of luck at Mid-Ohio, they got that caution when they needed it. Didn't have to come back to pit lane.
And speaking of luck, some of the Rum Bum team rivals could use a little help from above, and they may get it literally today, Dorsey.
It's hard to believe we've gone halfway through the season, haven't had a rain race yet. This could all change today. I mean, there's weather up here in New England, I should say, the upper New York area has been raining every single day. It's going to rain here today, too, and that's a great equalizer. Who tells, what's going to happen? We'll know in a minute.
In fact, if you were with us just a moment ago, we had a complete gully washer just miss the racetrack. We're using the full 3.4-mile, 11-turn international circuit, and it's a good thing. We have a huge field. You see the starting grid across the top of your screen. There are our post-time weather conditions, and that 70% chance of rain. Look at that sky. Much closer to 100%, and it should make things interesting. Speaking of which, Calvin, let's talk about the storylines in our Grand Sport class.
Well, the first one is good, but not good enough. We're talking about the Stevenson Camaro. 3 podiums in a row, including a win, but they find themselves further back in the points because of the Rum Bum stretch what's going on right now. Roush Revival, they won Daytona, the season opener, but since that time, only 1 finish in the top 6. This weekend, they do get 500 extra RPM. And go time for BMW. It's hard to believe that the marque has done so well in this category. They only have 1 driver in the top 10. However, Turner Motorsports did get that victory at Circuit of the Americas.
You see the field on track right now. Let's get down and hear from our one of our 3 pit reporters for today's race. First up is Brian Till.
Well, guys, you talk about Rum Bum Racing. They lead the points in the Grand Sports category, and with that victory at Mid-Ohio, Matt Plum, Nick Longy become 2 of the winningest drivers ever in Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge history as far as overall wins go. The important thing to note, that car at Mid-Ohio was brand new. It's the first car this team has ever built themselves, and they built a good one as they took the victory there. And Calvin, you talked about it, took some fuel mileage and a little bit of luck to get the victory. If it is to rain here today, the Porsche may be what you want. With the engine over those rear wheels, could give you some really good drive off the corner. This team looking for win number 3 on the season. But Darren Law, if they're going to take that victory, they're going to have to get past some very fast Aston Martins up front.
Yeah, guys, the Multimatic team enters this race with 4 Aston Martins. At basically last race, they had 1 car crash really hard. The 71 of Marco Marsal hit the wall, went in, pushed the motor, the drivetrain back into the chassis, and bent the subframe. So to fix that car, it's back this weekend. These guys are fast. They've been on 4 poles out of the last 5-6 races. They've also been on the podium, but they are winless so far this season.
All right, thanks, Darren. We've talked about Grand Sport. Now let's turn to the Street Tuner class and our storylines, Dorsey.
Well, Honda Holland, Corey Fergus and Owen Trinkler on the pole today. They would have been alongside their team car, but it got sent to the back with an infraction. Heart pumping, Honda of American Racing Team won here last year. They were 2nd last time out at Mid-Ohio, qualified 5th today. Watch that car. And champion returns. David Thelenius is back. We're glad to see him after his rib fracturing wreck from Daytona. He returns to the driver's seat today.
With more on the ST class, let's get down to our 3rd pit commissar, Justin Bell.
And I called it at Mid-Ohio, actually, the number 75 Compass 360 car of Ryan Eversley and Karen Gimple. They had a great, strong result there and come into this race in the points lead. Now, the thing for them is their front-wheel drive, and if it rains, they feel quite confident that they have a car that can really work their way through these quite long race here. But, of course, what they want is a win would be nice, podium would be better, but the only thing for them is that they want to come out of here with more points than the 23 BMW of Terry Borchella. So, ST's a really competitive class, and they're just waiting on the weather.
And speaking of weather, let's peer down through the clouds, Dorsey, and have a closer look at Watkins Glen International.
Well, Watkins Glen International Racetrack is located in the Finger Lakes region of New York. I couldn't say that before. I can say it now. Anyway, we dropped down through the clouds, as you said, Bob, to one of the greatest racetracks in this country, 3.4 miles in length, 11 corners on the long course which we'll use today. Now, the yellow arrows depict safety areas where if you're in trouble with your car, if it's on fire, whatever, you can get off the racetrack through the barrier into a safe area.
Let's have a look at our onboard cameras for today's race. We have 4 of them, 2 of them on ST Class Mazda MX-5 and 2 in a pair of Grand Sport cars. Tom Long and Derek Whitus will share the number 25 car with a camera on board. Andrew Carbonell and Red Odoski in the number 26 Mazda. Mark Bowden and Brian Sellers share the 46 Grand Sport BMW M3, and Richard Gallinello and David Levine the 78 Grand Sport Ford Mustang. Here's our Continental Tire race analysis.
2-hour, 30-minute race, timed event, of course. 23 GS cars, 34 ST, and you can see our pole sitters there, Buford and Fergus.
Here comes the final corner, turn 11. They'll be on to the front straightaway, and we can't overemphasize it. If the clouds dump on this racetrack, it is a whole new ballgame. But for now, the track is dry, the sun is shining brightly, and the green flag waves. We're underway at Watkins Glen.
2 Multimatic Astons leading the field to green. Jay Buford, 4th pole of the year. He is on fire and leads the pack down into turn 1, Dors.
This is a great overtaking area, and you see 3 wide as we get in here. They're going to have to get it single file, though, before they head up the S's. You can go side by side, but it costs you a lot of time from this point up the hill.
Shelby Blackstock had a look around the outside there in that bright red number 51 Roush Mustang. That boy's doing a tremendous job this year.
On to the backstretch, headed for the inner loop. Fastest part of the racetrack right here. Here comes the Street Tuners start.
Corey Fergus, screen left on the pole. Brand new race car this weekend. Switched to the newest Civic 2.4 liter. Got a little more oomph, which is needed here at Watkins Glen.
Only 5 wide back in the middle. That's about normal for here, though.
There's a whole bunch of photographers just behind the tire wall down there in turn 1 because they know what can happen down there.
You just got to play nice through this area, threading the needle. Tires aren't up to temperature yet, but great start by Fergus. Nosing always a factor there in the race epic BMW, currently running 2nd.
Meanwhile, the GS battle down in the boot.
Look at the gunslinger, slides it to the inside. They're the defending champions. Number 93 car from Hart. Dorsey talked about them. He's there in 3rd in that mean black machine.
This inner loop used to be a real troublesome area for everyone. There's a big gravel trap out there. That's been paved since then, but still oh, now this hasn't. Now, if you can keep that going, that'll really help.
Whoa, there's the Stevenson Motorsports Camaro off.
Good job keeping the car through the gravel. Will not bring out a full course.
No problems for the Rumbum team.
Now, did it break the windshield? That's the really important thing here. The hood up over the top, you can't see. It'll get back to pit lane, make a pit stop. But if it broke the windscreen, if it replaced that, they're in big trouble. That takes a lot of time.
And we talk about firing on all cylinders. They came into this race with a healthy championship lead, but these are the sort of things that can happen in this form of racing. Looks like there may have been a little bit of damage to the front, like Nick may have got into someone to create this problem.
Good observation, Calvin. The front of that hood that's up is peeled back at the top. That's going to make it hard to get it to close again. There's been contact between him and someone.
Well, Nick Longy didn't have far to go, blinded by that hood in his face.
Yeah, right there in the left front corner, see it? They'll get some bare bond out, tape it down.
Line's there.
Well, the problem is, guys, when it came up, it actually ripped off some of the front bumper and the area that it would clamp back down to. So right now they're pulling off the hydraulic cylinders that help you raise the hood. They don't need those. They pulled those out of the way. They're getting some bare bond down. But the other thing that it's done, it has rolled the lip up on the hood, so it's going to have kind of like a wing sticking out in front right now, and that is going to be a huge problem for who's got one on the racetrack.
This is pit lane. This is pit in.
Wow, it's a Freedom Motorsport car.
Yeah, and that barrier's been hit right in front of that end of that concrete wall.
That's the number 25 car.
This normally happens when you come off the last corner.
Yeah.
In a bunch of different cars get together.
Derek Whitus behind the wheel. We're hearing that the driver's okay.
That thumbs up there, that's a good
that's
thing.
Great. That was a
Derek
big
Whitus.
Remember, he was carrying one of our onboard cameras. This ought to be really interesting video. He hit those plastic barrels
Right.
that are meant to attenuate crash energy.
He was just telling his crew chief he didn't know what, he said, I don't know what happened. Somebody hit me.
We also heard from the Stevenson Camaro that the hit was so big that took Matt Bell off, that it knocked the fuel switch off. Let's take a look here, see if Nick Longy gets in the back of the Stevenson car. Yes, he does,
Oh, yeah,
right
he
there.
shoved it right under him. I thought there was damage on that when I saw it. He got all the way up underneath the rear of it. Take a look here.
I think Longy may have been distracted by that 4-line BMW, looking down to his inside, was maybe thinking about that, and suddenly the Stevenson car was on the binders.
Oh! There was 3 cars involved there.
Car in front of Derek checked up. I think Derek then had to check up and probably got tagged.
Yeah. I don't know who tagged him, but he definitely got tagged. You see it right there. It was an accordion effect. Oof. Oh, that's a vicious hit when you hit that sand-filled barriers there. Take a look here.
Is it that white BMW?
No, I think maybe the Compass car. Possibly, Bob. I'm not quite sure. It's hard to tell.
But Derek didn't even know. I mean, you heard him in there. He didn't even know if he'd been hit or what happened, you know.
There you see, the barrels are filled with sand, and they really did in the right side of the car, but better that than the driver.
That's one of the things here you see at Watkins Glen, you know, time and time again. If you get spun off that back corner, it sends you in a trajectory right at the end of that pit wall. Of course, those barriers are there to protect the impact, and did a good job.
So let's get down and hear from Derek Whitus' teammate in the pit lane. Darren Law is with Tom Long.
Tom, that was a pretty big hit with that car. What happened, and are you damaged too much to get back in?
Yeah, it was a hard hit. I'm not sure if Derek knows exactly what was happening, but maybe the exit curb was wet. I'm not sure, but the Freedom Autosport guys are working really hard right now. He drove it into the garages, so I'm hoping that maybe we'll put some more body work on it, and that Mazda's really resilient, and we'll get back out there.
Do you know if there was suspension damage or just body work, or how hard the hit was?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It looked pretty dramatic on the TV, so that's all I know for right now. But he's okay, and they're working on the car. So I'm hoping that between our Freedom Autosport guys and the Mazda that we're going to get it back out there for valuable points.
All right, good to hear he's okay. We'll check back with him later.
Well, thank you, Darren.
Okay.
This is the car that had the championship lead after Barber when they won there. They had a second-place run at Coda, and were on a charge. Then they had problems at Atlanta, and then we can see the damage there to the tire.
This is the second big crash Derek Whitus had. You talked about it in Atlanta.
I don't think he did get turned, Dorsey.
It sounded like it.
Yeah.
On board. When we watch on board, it might give us a better view.
Carrying a little too much speed into the corner.
Watch here.
Gets into the 30 car ahead of him. And then the crash barrels. This is going to take a cleanup, so we'll take a break. We'll be back with more of the Continental Tire 150. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. There's a peek at the stone bridge that was a part of the original road circuit. Sports car racing began in 1948. The first races in the post-war era held here in the Adirondack Mountains of New York. Here's a look at what we've seen thus far in just 9 laps. Nick Longy getting into the back of Matt Bell.
There, trip through the gravel trap for Matt Bell. Also some damage to the exhaust, and Longy has to hit pit lane to try and get that hood taped back down.
And at almost the same moment, there was another incident we'll get to in a moment. Meanwhile, cars.
This was the leader, Bob. 55 car, Jay Buford. Now, this was just under the 2-hour mark, so they probably think they can do it on one more stop. Stevenson are back in, trying to effect a repair on that exhaust, Dorsey.
They get the one side opened up with the rod right there, but they actually had to take about a 4-foot section off the other side. Now you got to worry about how much carbon monoxide gets up inside the car with them. Here's your big wreck, though.
Derek Whitus got into the car ahead of him, into the wall on one side, into the crash barrels on the other side, and threw them into the Armco. A real impact.
It's on those sand-filled barriers, and that shoots them across and into the guardrail. Watch on board.
Clips those barrels, so it wasn't a full-on hit, but you can see the subsequent damage. There wasn't another car involved in this. We thought there might have been someone right behind Derek Whitus. There was separation, so when the iMoto machine went sideways, it caused Derek to veer across the track. Going back to green.
Back underway at Watkins Glen. Nick Mancuso and Eric Curran up front.
Look at this, James Guay looking down to the inside. He's having a great return to racing here, returning.
And Shelby Blackstock around the outside in the red Mustang. Wow.
What a move. That was a real big outside pass in turn one.
Well, he tried it on the initial start, Dorsey. He couldn't get the grip. This time he finds the grip and takes it to the front.
And it's raining on parts of the track, around the track, so that was really a gutsy move to hang it around the outside edge there.
Now we're seeing the strategy come into play. Look at the clock there. You got to do 30 minutes to get points. So they're doing a driver change. What are you seeing, JB?
Brian Sellers looked at me. He was suddenly called to throw on his helmet to jump in the number 45 BMW, the four-line BMW. So he had this wide-eyed look on his face, and he said, I've just suddenly, 46, sorry. He suddenly had to jump in the car. Not quite a scheduled stop, but obviously they put fuel in, and they're making the most of this break. Track position probably to put Brian, who's obviously driving at the top of his game this season, into that car.
And now we're on the wet part of the racetrack Dorsey talked about.
Yeah, this hole going down into the boot area is soaking wet. Oh, almost contact there with the Aston, the BMW. Almost got into a little rubbing match.
Nick Mancuso.
Oh, and he
touches him. He gets into him there in the brake zone as Al Carter behind the wheel of the Be Positive Foundation BMW.
Good hands on Al Carter to catch that one.
Now we hear the rum bump car. Nick Longy in the number 13 is going to have to do a stop and go for that contact with the Camaro of Matt Bell.
Probably be more than a stop. It would be a stop and hold, I would think. That's, I mean, the precedent is followed.
See, it's dry here again, Dorsey, so it's just on one part of this racetrack. The racetrack is wet, so they're certainly not going to be changing tires to full wets when the rest of the track is this dry. Similar to Le Mans last week. One part of the racetrack is wet, the other is bone dry.
Let me clarify, the 13th penalty is now a stop plus 60. You called it, Dorsey.
Yeah, that's kind of what they've been doing all year long, and that's what you know, the consistency shows should have happened.
Two things about this racetrack. There are rivers that form at key corners, including turn one, but the track also dries very quickly in the hot sun. To Brian Till.
Well, Nick Longy's going to have to serve that long stop, and for Matt Plum, this is not the way you guys wanted to go after that 14th victory for the team. How far is this going to set you back? Is it something that you can recover from with a little luck and some full course caution?
Well, firstly, I feel terrible for the 9 car. You know, we never like to compete like that. And I know Nick didn't do anything intentionally. It looked like he was worried about the guy on his inside and just, you know, maybe missed his brake marker. We do what we can. Whether we come back or not, we're gonna fight until the very end, and wherever we end up, we'll end up. But not the greatest way to start off this weekend's race, but it is what it is, and we'll try to make the best of it.
Longy serving that penalty. Both of these cars are not going to be performing the way they need to. That lip on the front of the Porsche, it's going to create some aerodynamic drag. The 9 car came in when we opened the pit lane. They took off the rear fascia. They were worried about the car being able to fuel. That was not a problem. And Dorsey, as you alluded to, they removed about 4 feet of exhaust on the right side. Not only a carbon monoxide issue, but how is that going to affect the way that engine runs?
You're right, Brian. Those are tuned exhausts. It will probably affect some horsepower loss. But more importantly, it's really the gases that if they get in the cockpit, that's not good at all.
Look at Shelby Blackstock there. He's not looking like a rookie. Learning the wet line there, running the cushion. On the main part of the track, the groove that you normally run on, it gets very slippery in these wet conditions, so he's running the cushion, so to speak, and searching for grip. But one bonus that the Rum Bum team has is that this is a very long lap here at Watkins Glen, so there's a good chance, even with a stop and hold for 60, they should stay on the lead lap today.
That's Daniel Conway in the APR Motorsport Volkswagen Jetta. Here's how he got there.
Whoa, too much
Zing.
speed. Wow, it flew off that curb.
Jeez, big air over the curb, skipped over the asphalt paving, and then into the kitty litter.
And the kitty litter did what it was supposed to. It gathered up an errant Volkswagen.
Looks like he is stuck.
Well, if he is stuck, if there's a yellow, this could be the break that the Rum Bum team are looking for, because they're going to need a yellow or two to get back in the game here. They also pitted with just over 2 hours to go, like the 55 did, 8 of effect repairs on the race car, but also top up with fuel. So they may be good to go on just one more stop, as will the 55 car that we're now seeing trying to claw his way back through the pack.
Take a look there. Jack Roush Jr. in the 61 Mustang started at the back. We never did find out exactly why that was. Didn't make any qualifying time, but you can tell from the team car that Shelby Blackstock's driving up in the front that the car should be good.
Here comes Buford. He is charging. Aston Martin really been knocking on the door, showing speed all season long, as is the case with Buford with 4 pole positions, but Aston still looking for that first victory. They've tried shaking up their strategies amongst the 4 Multimatic cars on occasion, but still searching for that elusive top step of the podium.
Already seeing a dry line. Some of these cars run around the outside, which is the wet line. You see Jack Roush Jr. out there, but some of even this wet part of the racetrack now starting to show signs of quick drying. This racetrack does dry quickly.
Look at this. 26 car is in. This will be a strategy call too. These ST cars can go an awful long way, particularly if you get a bit of help with yellow. This may be their final stop of the day, believe it or not.
Andrew Carbonell started the car. Radodowski takes over. Well, they complete service. Let's get more on that 171. It was Ian Bass in the car, not Daniel Conway. Here's Darren Law.
Yeah, guys, that car was not a driver error. They had a suspension failure. They either think tie rod or shock, something broke that sent them off the side of the road.
Kind of looked like that because in that picture frame, the car was just going straight. Look right here. See, no turn whatsoever, just flying off that road. Lucky that gravel trap was there to stop him because he had a lot of speed going.
Did its job.
And he stuck the landing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, now that things are relatively under control, we'll take a quick break and return with more of round 6 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge for 2013. We're at Watkins Glen. We'll be back in just a moment. Now there's a picture that tells a story in the distance. Somebody's farm is bathed in sunshine. In the foreground, we have a sopping wet Watkins Glen International racetrack after another heavy shower moved through. There is pit lane. And I think the remarkable thing is, Calvin, that with all the pit activity we had during the break, a lot of the teams decided to stay with slick tires.
They have. They're looking at the skies and trying to read which way that weather front is coming, Bob, but deciding to gamble a little bit and stay on slicks. Have to see if they're making the right choice.
It's going to make it pretty dicey.
Let's have a look at a race recap, and there is plenty to talk about. Number of cars either out of the race or nursing various wounds. There's the 181, Nate Norenberg from APR Motorsport. Looks like he just caught the end of the tire wall and did extensive damage to his car.
Yeah, that car pulled off, had to get pulled off. Look on the record. Here goes the Aaron car. Somebody get that car. Good save by the workers.
Otherwise, it would have gone all the way down the hill to another stranded car.
Then we saw plenty of activity as pit lane is open, meaning both classes can pit right now. A bunch of the ST cars are in, handful of GS as well.
Some of the damage I mentioned.
Like you said, though, Bob, most all of these teams remain on slick tires, even though they were in them for the pit stop. I agree with that. It's going to make it really slippery for the first few laps, though.
Of course, the first incident involved the hottest team in the series right now. We talked about at the top of the show, Rum Bum Racing. There's Nick Longy, and Brian Till is there.
Yeah, Nick just climbed out of the car. They did a driver change on that last stop. Nick, I mean, we saw the replays. It looked pretty obvious, but from your point of view in the driver's seat, what happened?
You know, I didn't see the replay. I was in the car. Apparently, I didn't see too much because I had the one car, Al Carter, on my right there, and the 9 car in front of me. I mean, first of all, I apologize to the entire Stevenson team, crew. I went and apologized already. I assume I lost track of where I was right under his bumper. You know, things just thought it was okay, and then things slowed down a whole lot faster than I thought they would. Probably was closer than they should have been, obviously. So apologize to everybody. It's the last thing I want to do is touch that car. We're having a really good race for the championship, and we don't want to hit anybody. Try to keep it clean. So it's my fault. It's my fault. I apologize.
Well, the car seems to be okay. These conditions, though, very treacherous. Matt's out now, out on slicks, I believe. That decision, I mean, how much of a risk is that? The sky looks like it's starting to clear.
You know, it is extremely slippery. Half the track's wet, half the track dry, then 3/4 of the track are wet. So right now, I think the gamble is that it's not going to stay wet very long. So, you know, I have full faith in the team. Fantastic team, Rum Bum Racing. You know, they're awesome. So, you know, Joe knows what he's doing. I think we'll be able to climb back up.
Rolling the dice, trying to get back up to the front. Let's head down to Darren Law.
James Gouet, driver of the number 15 Multimatic Aston Martin. James, you guys came in the pits, car stopped, it's behind the wall. What happened?
Yeah, certainly not the day we were hoping for. Car was strong, basically coming back onto the short course there, just lost throttle. And we thought it was an ECU issue. We've come back and changed ECUs, recycled the ignition, gone through all that. They're still working on it behind the wall, but it's not looking good at this point.
And what about driving conditions? You got wet and dry sections of the track. How is it, and what's the worst part?
It's tricky for sure. Obviously, the changing conditions every lap. You know, the wind blowing, it's changing every lap. But obviously, staying away from the concrete patches and the sealer. You've got to transition across them at some point. But just you know, be careful when you're doing that. But no, it makes it interesting out there for sure.
Yeah, guys, tough conditions, and you know, electrical problems. They're hard to find. Back to you.
And so often they come out when there is water on the racetrack. As you can see, parts of Watkins Glen still very, very wet. We mentioned that it dries quickly, but boy, oh boy, slicks on that pavement.
Yeah, it's going to be really tricky to survive these conditions. But one thing we're seeing right there in the center of the screen right now, the Stevenson Camaro, they've done that repair on the exhaust, and they've kept Matt Bell on the lead lap, and he's actually running in 7th spot. And also Matt Plum, despite that penalty that Nick Longy had to serve the stop and hold for 60, they're also on the lead lap. Don't count out these guys for a podium run here today.
Take a look at the surface of the racetrack. This is a great shot to look at. As a matter of fact, you can see exactly what James was talking about, which is these patches. They laid concrete in the high load areas, then they put sealer on them. Those are extremely, extremely slippery. You can drive around the outside of them out here to the left and get more grip, but sooner or later you're going to have to cross over them, and when you do that, you want to be straight.
Safety car is off, green flag is in the air, and we are back to racing, and we're 5 wide already, headed for 1.
Mancuso looks to the inside, trying to get on the inside of Eric Carr, and he does it. Look at this, Jay Buford. He's made a pit stop for fuel. He's all the way back up. Paul Sitter's in 4th spot right now in another one of those white Aston Martins.
I tell you what, Shelby Blackstock has this restart business nailed.
He is showing a lot of confidence and really got that Roush Mustang hooked up. They got 500 more RPM this weekend. Performance balancing to try and get that Mustang back towards the top of the heap. Here comes the other one. Billy Johnson now behind the wheel. That second red Mustang, they're making a move.
We know Billy Johnson's going to be awfully aggressive, so I expect that car move forward pretty quickly too. But you have to watch it on this kind of surface.
Into the inner loop.
Easy here, boys.
Billy Aublin's car right in the middle of the mix there. They made a great strategy call, bringing Bill in, Paul Dallalana in, and getting Billy in the car right when we went to caution there, as the pit lane was still open. So they're in good shape strategy-wise. There's Plum looking for grip there.
Everybody feeling the racetrack out, Calvin. You're right. Everybody's just trying to move the car around, see where I got some grip. Shelby Blackstock, on the other hand, is just nailing this thing.
These Astons look good in these conditions. Look at Buford. He's trying to make a move on Curran. Oh, Curran's in deep. He's in too deep.
Good save. He just rode it right to the edge of the racetrack. Lost some ground, but didn't go off into that grass.
Yeah, I think he saw that Buford was coming and just got a little bit late on the brakes, and you can't turn the wheel in. You just got to ride it out and try and keep it on the track. Here comes Billy Johnson on him now.
Yeah, Johnson up the inside will take that position. Oh, and he's off again.
Yeah, he's struggling. He's struggling for grip in that Camaro. Whatever setup they have on that car, whatever brake bias he's got is not working right now.
Yeah, he's got way too much front brake bias. He keeps locking those fronts, not being able to turn the car.
Comes the ST leaders. Got to be careful.
Meanwhile, we hear the 38 car, Jim Norman and Spencer Pompelli. They were quickest in one of the practices leading up to this race. They're being brought back in for excessive speed in the pit lane.
That car's horrible.
They've had problems with that all season long, it seems. Well, that was a big moment.
That was a front-wheel drive big moment.
Oh, and Trigler in our pole-sitting car.
Number 2, Jim Click has gone around.
He's off in a safe area, though.
38 has a problem. He will not get back to the pit lane.
Yeah, he's going to get a penalty, and he can't get back to get it.
Battle for 3rd in the overall, Buford and Johnson.
Johnson is coming. He had a great run out of 1. Looks to the inside, going through the S's. He's on a charge. He doesn't like where they've been finishing. He wants to get back on that podium.
We can see what happened to the 38. Is he going to have...
That's
Click going off.
And in the background, you could see Trinkler having his moment as well, coming out of the boot.
Excuse me, Mike McGovern has taken over for Jim Click in the 2. Let's get down to Justin Bell in the pit lane.
Yeah, here, Jerry Atbury, you're watching very, obviously, intensely at Shelby. What a great job, but I just said how good he was on the restarts, and obviously that's down to you by the sounds of it.
No, Shelby's doing an awesome job out there. I can't take anything away from him. Going 3 wide down here and turn 1 for the lead, I mean, that's just awesome racing. He gets better and better every weekend, so I'm happy to see him out front right now, and he's controlling this race.
Is there any feedback from him on the track conditions? Obviously, running on slicks, now they're getting some temperature back in, but how difficult is it? Is he reporting back?
Yeah, it's definitely really slippery out there, but Shelby's one of the best I've ever seen with car control, so I got no worries with him in the car.
All right, we'll let you get ready because I know you're on deck to get in, guys.
You saw some car control from the other Welsh Mustang there too, Billy Johnson. A little argy-bargy with Buford there and made the move. He's up to 3rd and charging hard. Look at Mancuso, he's got a run on him. Shelby couldn't get the power down, Dorse.
Now Mancuso can't get the power down on the outside. You know, it's just right now where you get grip and where you don't get grip. I like the car control we just saw from Billy Johnson. He put that fender in there, knew he was about to touch, got it out of there, and then got back in and just a little power slide, away he goes.
Mustangs and Astons at the front. We'll pick up the action in the ST class. There is the class leader, Ryan Eversley.
Championship leader as well. So Compass 360, very smart group they got there, and making the right calls today, led by Carl Thompson. Eversley's a really good driver. I mean, I really don't understand why he hasn't got a regular ride in the Rolex series, but continues to impress week in, week out. There's the 5 car. Steve McAleer, he had such a great run. Remember him at Austin, Dorsey?
Yeah,
we saw him essentially for the first time.
Really impressed us, did a great job there.
Came from 3rd to 1st in the last few corners.
Yeah, really good stuff. Good little battle here between the 2 Mazdas.
Andrew Carbonell in the other. They swap places again.
So much talent in this championship.
Down to the 01 to Brian Till.
Right now, Eric Curran climbing out and helping Lawson Aschenbach get strapped in. You saw him struggling with that brake bias, and that's one of the things that's difficult around here. And Dorsey, you and Calvin can talk about it, but when it rains, you want to move that brake bias to the back. Well, when it's dry, like it is on certain areas of the racetrack, you need it back up front. So perhaps Curran just not finding the balance, the compromise that he wanted, because you needed to be moving it back and forth from one end of this racetrack to the other. Routine stop going on right now. They've lost some position on the racetrack. Aschenbach just needs to keep a cool head, get the CKS Camaro back on track and start steadily moving it forward.
What a problem there at the right front.
Well, it's the jack. He can't get ground clearance to get the wheel back on. Struggled to get the one off and then struggled to get the other one on. So I think it was the jack man having issues there.
More time lost, however, and that's not good. That car looked really just about undrivable. I mean, whether it was brake bias or whether it was sway bar or something.
Well, guys, it was a 54-second stop. Eric Curran just climbed out of the car. I'll try to get to him here in just a second. And he's getting his helmet off. And Eric, man, the brake bias out there seemed to be a real challenge. This racetrack really getting slick there with the rain coming down.
Yeah, you know, this is a big gamble, right? Today, this Kirk and the CKS guys set the car up for dry. We were hoping that it would be dry, looking at the radar coming in, and you know, it turned out to be wet and dry. So the whole setup is dry. The setup in the car, the brake setup, the brake ABS, everything is set up for dry. And you can see I was fast in the dry, but not so good in the wet. So just a handful now. I hope we can get back up there.
What he means by that, guys, is when you set it up for the dry, the car's a lot stiffer, and when the rain comes down, you need a softer platform. They don't have it right now.
Well, the 16 has gone around.
Yeah, Mancuso was having a brilliant run here today.
Smoke out of that, guys. That might be more than just a spin.
Yeah.
Still pretty wet at this part of the racetrack. We've got another break coming up. Everybody squirming under acceleration at Watkins Glen. If not that, they're squirming under braking. It's a car control clinic. We'll be back. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. Bob Varsha, Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader with you. Brian Till, Justin Bell, and Darren Law are in the pit lane. The 16 is in, and he was smoking all the way to his pit stall.
Yeah, kind of strange thing. Nick Mancuso had a spin out there, and then when he took off, he lit up the tires. Rear tires had some smoke, but and you see it down here. Here's the spin, doesn't hit anything. Nothing wrong here. He tries to get out there, lights up, doesn't burn out. But then, after he gets back on track, the smoke just keeps coming out of that car, and it's getting a lot worse.
Let's learn more. Darren.
So far, they came in, you're right, guys, it was smoking. They had the left rear off, and they were looking under there for quite a while, but I can't see anything wrong, can't see any reason why it's smoking, so they're putting slicks back on it. They've done a driver change, they've got fuel done, and it looks like everything's okay so far.
That's a shame, because Nick was having a brilliant run there, battling out for the lead with Shelby Blackstock. When he had that moment, we saw the video a little bit late, so I'm not sure if they got into it at all, Dorsey. Didn't see any contact, but they were certainly deep into the brake zone there.
Didn't look at it, and the engine sounded good when he just did the burnout and almost ran over somebody's toes on the pit lane there.
Olay. Now here's the Rum Bum team that's had so many problems thus far.
But don't count them out, Bob. They're up to 8th already, and they're very much in this race.
And the car's not hurt. I mean, that tape across the front's not doing any aero problem whatsoever.
Might add some downforce in these wet conditions.
It could actually, you're right, it could very much help that car.
We said you need that little bit of luck. They got it at Mid-Ohio, as did a number of the front runners for that matter, in terms of needing a yellow to make it without us needing a splash of fuel. But this is where the good teams excel. They get thrown some curveballs, and it's how you deal with them.
And they do have their fair share of luck, too. I mean, that actually can be helping them, believe it or not, up through the S's and so forth.
Matt Plum shown in 8th place right now.
'71 kid there, Michael Marcelli had that huge hit up into the keyhole at Mid-Ohio in the last round. The team has really done a tremendous job in turning that car around in short order and getting Michael back out there. He shares that car with Tunis Kazimits. Initially, they thought they might have been a braking issue with Michael at Mid-Ohio, but then thought he's just avoiding the other car. Here we're with Brian Sellers here, battling for 3rd spot with Jade Buford.
Dry line continues to form on this part of the track.
You know, when you get into a race like this where it's going to be wet for a while, dry for a while, you just have to have patience. You know, if the car is not particularly good when it's really wet, you have to stay on the racetrack. You just keep your wits about you, wait for the track to come back at you and attack again then. You know, you play it in segments. It's the only way you can do it.
You can see from those leaves upper right that there is a breeze blowing out there as well, and that'll help dry the track.
Sellers doing a great job here. JB was down there when suddenly they said, get your helmet on and get in. Mark Bowden had passed the 30-minute mark in this race, and he's done a great job in clawing that full-line BMW up to the 4th spot. But here comes Turner Motorsports.
Yeah, don't count that BMW yet. That's Bill Oberlin coming up through here. He's making a lot of ground right now.
They're the only BMWs to have seen victory lane this year. And they got the double at Circuit of the Americas.
Bill, one of a handful of drivers who has had a very, very busy month of May and June, including racing both the Continental Tire Series and the Rolex GT Series on the Grand Am weekends, as well as going to Le Mans to test and race.
Right behind there, you saw Andrew Aquilani in the number 35 Mustang. He's got that brake bias issue right now. You can see that car now squirming around as the bias isn't good for the grip on the racetrack.
Of course, for so many years and seasons, we saw him campaigning that all-wheel drive Subaru. He'd like to have that today in terms of finding grip.
It's a drag race. Sellers moving by.
Nice clean run there, just got the inside, got the power down, has the track position.
Now on the brakes, a little bit of squirm. There's a pronounced dip right at the apex of that corner.
Real
that
bowl
messes
there.
you up too, yeah. Right behind them though, guys, is Oberlin, who's making tracks. I mean, he's coming. That little bowl you're talking about, that is so hard to get the car to lay down in there and not break free.
I was standing down in that corner watching some of the practice sessions, and the cars just bumped through there.
Yeah, looking at some lap times. Last time through, Billy Johnson, our leader, did a 2:10, 2-minute 10-second lap, and Oberlin just did a 2:06. So he's reveling in these conditions.
Yeah, he's just going to blow by these guys. He made up so much ground in a hurry there. Now he's on the back bumper. It's just a matter of time.
Back to the ST leader, Ryan Eversley, the 75.
Things much calmer looking back here.
Well, he's got about a 3.8 second lead over his nearest rival.
I think I'd like that, drive that one right now. No damage on the BMW. I saw that earlier on. It's just one of those bumper panels that is coming loose. We see that a lot.
Even though there's an hour and 11 minutes to go, I think a lot of these ST cars may be good to go the rest of the distance without needing fuel. So we'll have to monitor that as the race progresses.
Stephen McAleer again looking there. C.J. Wilson's car.
This kid's got a lot of talent.
He's got a lot of talent. We've watched him, and he's shown us a lot of promise this year.
Starting to dry out, as you can see, and then you just get back on your normal racing line there.
And then you get bit. You know,
Yeah.
Each lap gets faster and faster, and all of a sudden you find that limit again.
Problem is when you're overtaking, you have to go at the wet part of the racetrack. That's when it gets really dicey.
To Brian Till.
Well, guys, you're talking about the Compass 360 cars running strong. Well, the RSR Honda Civics running very strong as well. Corey Fergus started on the pole in that class. And while the Civics have been fast, one of the challenges that they've fought all year long is brakes, specifically front brakes. This is a caliper off of that Honda Civic. The problem with it is it's basically a street caliper. And what happens under hard use, this side of the caliper actually flexes out like this. What it does is, here's the pad on the inside. It should close up against the disc nice and square. But when this side flexes out, the pad closes at an angle, and what happens is you only have a very small portion of the brake pad that pushes up against the rotor, and it causes extreme heat, and the brakes don't work that well. So one of the things RSR is working with, trying to work with the series with, and as well as Compass 360, working on these front brakes, trying to get new calipers and try to get this problem taken care of so they can get this brake pad closing up against that brake rotor nice and square.
Good job there, Brian. That's impressive. Actually, that happens with a lot of street cars. Street cars don't brake at the same level as these guys do. You don't go around braking at, you know, this type of energy level everywhere you drive. And that is a normal amount of flex, and it tapers that pad, and the pad then doesn't have all of its surface up against the rotor, and the stop just diminishes.
No rain for now at Watkins Glen. We'll take a break and return with more of round 6. Looks like we've got more business to come in the pit lane. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us. I could see why racers the world over love Watkins Glen International. Beautiful green racetrack. Lots of elevation changes, all types of corners. It's a classic. Here you see Billy Johnson running on the race lead ahead of Shelby Blackstock. The pass came a few minutes ago. Let's show you how the lead changed in this race.
Up through the S's, Dorsey just gets a tremendous run. And he's a brave boy. He doesn't mind putting it right on the edge, even in these conditions.
Drives around the outside on where it was wet. You saw the spray coming up. Shelby Blackstock, on the other hand, you know, he might have let that happen as a teammate, but he's still there, right there with him.
Yeah.
You know, and Shelby has done a great job. He's opened our eyes this year and has done just a fantastic job.
Look at this little battle here.
Oberlin.
Oh, that was close.
On Buford.
Oh, he's going to tuck it in there. They're going to trade paint. No argy-bargy. But look at this, the run-bump machine.
Who got the run but has nowhere to go with it. That's the problem right here. You know, you got the momentum to go right by these guys. They're going to try to wreck each other.
Wow, that is awesome stuff. Just great driving by both drivers there, Oberlin and Buford. 51 cars in. Blackstock going to turn it over.
Good run for Shelby Blackstock.
Buford being hard to get along with on this passing deal right now. As you see the run bump Porsche get by.
He's done a good job, though. I mean, he's dealing with two of the most experienced drivers in this category, and he's hanging in there. He's not giving him an inch, but he's not playing dirty either. It's good stuff.
So with the 51 pitting, plus the action you're watching on the right side of your screen, Billy Johnson is the leader. Bill Oberlin now into second. Matt Plum into third. Jay Buford drops back to fourth. To the pit lane.
Yeah, Bob, it was a very nice pit stop down here at the 51. And, you know, we come off the back of Le Mans last week where, you know, you get used to some of the top teams in the world doing their pit stops. And I must say that the Roush Fenway team down here has really impressed me with the way they just did that pit stop. And, of course, all to play for. And a good time to do it because Joey was ready to get in. They did just lose the lead, as you said, to the sister car. It was a very nicely executed pit stop. And they put a new set of Continental tires on. And they head out onto the track. And I think it's worth mentioning right now, Dorsey, that, of course, while the Continental tires in construction and compound and everything are the same for all the cars, of course, the mechanisms to put the power to the ground do vary a lot. Front-wheel drive out here, rear-wheel drive, mid-engine, front-engine. You know, there's a lot of different demands put on these tires out there on the track. The one consistent thing right now is that the track is dry, so everyone's up to speed straight away.
I think for Blackstock and Atterbury, the key is can they stretch their fuel mileage to cover an hour and 5 minutes. That's kind of marginal there. I would think over the next 5 to 10 minutes, we'll see some of these other GS leaders make their potentially final pit stop here for fuel. Don't want to hang too long, because if you get a yellow, suddenly the advantage you got is going to be erased by the pits being closed.
You know, they got that extra 500 RPM. They're running those big V8s at 8,000 RPM. They burn a lot of fuel. The problem is when you're running up against a run bump Porsche and you come in, the Mustang's going to use more fuel. It's going to be a longer pit stop inherently because you have to put more fuel in.
We're watching 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th in the ST order. Michael Valiente leading Taylor Hackward, Pierre Kleinubing, Owen Trinkler, and Andrew Carbonell, with whom you were just riding.
Yeah, this is going to be a great battle. This track is really drying out now. So, you know, we heard Eric Curran say we gambled on a dry racetrack. There'll be several of these teams who have gone one way or the other with their setup.
Oh, a little help there, I believe. Oh, that was a good maneuver there.
Yeah, that's McQuarrie there, just got turned.
Yeah, they were locked together on corner entry. That never works out right. Another C.J. Wilson car, that's the 3.
Trying to get it turned around.
He's got it going. That was a bad place to be sitting sideways.
Left a little debris on the spot.
Oh, that turn 9, it's one of the 2 left-handers that you deal with if not. Take a
Out
look.
the boot.
Oh,
Well, battle here with
it's an accordion job.
And now they're going to come out of that up the short chute to the left-hander.
Oh, wow.
Now that
wow.
That was not needed. That was much worse than what we thought. That will draw a penalty, no doubt. That was a good maneuver right here. That's unnecessary roughing, I would believe.
Weisberg behind the wheel of the 40 machine in that incident.
You know, I don't know if that was a payback for the push in the corner before. You know, they were together, locked together. If that was a, you know, hey, I didn't appreciate that, but that was, in my book, that
Kind of
was,
over the top.
Yeah, over the top, intentional.
Well, look at those clouds overhead. We may not be done with the rain here at Watkins Glen as we approach the 1 hour mark remaining in the race. I have to say, it's been a dramatic one thus far. Another break coming up, and we'll be back to Watkins Glen International. Beautiful Watkins Glen, New York, at the foot of Seneca Lake. So much a part of racing history for 6.5 decades. Race leader is in, Bill Auberlin, in the Turner Motorsports BMW M3.
Yeah, dominoes are starting to fall now. Brian's there.
Yeah, you know, they had perfect strategy when they made the pit stop to do the driver change. They brought the car in just before full course caution came out, so they got a little bit of an advantage there. Now they've got this stop to go with just over an hour to go, and Auberlin's going to have fresh Continental tires and a full load of Sunoco fuel. Just back behind him, the 9, the Stevenson Motorsports Camaro is in as well. I don't see tires going on the Camaro, so they're going to try to double split these Continentals, it looks like. Man, that's going to be a big gamble. We still have a little over an hour to go. But, guys, I'm looking in the background. I think rain may be coming back.
I'm looking at the foreground and seeing the run bump machine going through turn 1. So
Yeah, you know what that
we
means.
said don't count them out. They've made their pit stop, too. It should be their final one. Hour 5 is kind of the window on a normal basis. So Giovanni and the boys didn't panic. You got this damaged race car back out front.
And, of course, if it does rain, everybody slows down. That helps fuel mileage.
We saw that pit stop just under the hour mark, and they're double stinting this set of Continentals too. So it's only fuel, just saves you a precious few seconds on pit lane.
Now you see the 61 in. This is one of the things that Ford guys were complaining about. The window for them to come in and get this fuel is longer than it was for the run bump. So by doing that, you know, Joe Vardy gets that Porsche out in front of this Mustang only because he can get in and get his fuel quicker.
ST leader, Ryan Eversley.
Look at McAlery, he's on him.
Yeah, man, that's good. That is a good running car there.
Good battle for third right now. Kleinubing just got around Valiente for the 3rd spot. So the iMoto machines are looking good today.
Agree with Brian, though. I think we're not done with the rain yet. Look in the foreground. You saw coming up the hill. Should be coming into the inner loop here.
Keep in mind, Ryan Eversley had about a 4-second lead at one point. And McAleer has run him down.
And one thing they said, Justin mentioned at the beginning of the show, they are all about gearing their race towards Terry Borscheller, whereas Borscheller right now all the way down in 24 spots. So that's the car that runs 2nd in points right now. So this could be a big payday for Compass 360 and Ryan Eversley, who currently leads.
Justin Bell was talking about the tires before, the Continental tires, and the differences in the cars that they're put on. Of course, this front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, etc. Well, there's differences inherently on those cars in the rain. You know, when it's wet, the front-wheel drive probably has a bit of an advantage over the rear-wheel drive. The Porsche, for instance, is a really good car because it's got the engine over the rear wheels, and it's well balanced that way. So, I mean, there's inherent advantages in wet over dry for some cars.
Here's the 96, Bill Auberland, currently shown 5th in the overall. Let's hear from his team boss with Brian.
Yeah, Will Turner looking on, and it's a good day so far, but Will, you and I are looking at the same thing, and that is those dark clouds that seem to be coming in this direction right now. Bill's got fresh tires on. How was the car for him in the rain earlier when he had the slick Continentals on and the rain was coming down?
Well, you know, as good as Don Salama is at strategy, obviously he's not as good at forecasting the weather, because we just put him on some more dry Continentals, and now it's looking like we might need to change back to some wets. But Bill was saying that, you know, it's all about finding the line on this racetrack. They put some sealant around the racetrack, and it's, you know, it's about experience and knowing where to drive to make the car go fast and stuff. So he said it was a handful, and he was working hard, but you know, obviously he was fast. He also was talking about the Porsche with Rum Bum being fast, and if you watch the race from Mid-Ohio, you know that they have a very strong car. And of course, you have his teammate in GT, Billy Johnson, out there too, who's no slouch in the rain. So I have a feeling this is going to come down to a little bit of weather and probably the last couple of laps.
Yeah, and typical Continental Tire Sports Car challenge, it ain't over till it's over. We're going to get a little rain just thrown into the mix just for fun.
This is a fascinating battle. Right now we have two brothers leading this race, running 1-2. Matt Plum leads from Hugh Plum. Hugh Plum's a little bit off strategy in terms of he's done 15 laps since his last pit stop. I think he's going to need some help with a caution or something to make it without needing a splash. But Brian Sellers is a man on the move. He is really running some quick laps right now, sitting in the 3rd spot.
You know, I said before there's inherent differences in the wet and dry on front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive. There's a bigger difference yet between drivers in the wet and dry. I mean, some guys are magic in the wet, and this is a great battle on right here.
Sellers a great run off that final turn there. Just got on the power a little bit earlier than Hugh. Gets a bit of a run. Looks to the inside. That's for second. This is our ST battle, Bob.
Yep, McAleer taking a look at the back of Ryan Eversley's Honda.
Sellers makes the move. He's through to second there on the left side of your screen.
Ryan Sellers has been getting that big jump off the final corner all day long.
That's one of the key things here at Watkins Glen, is getting that jump on these long straightaways between corners. You get that rocket launch off the corner and carry it all the way down the straightaway. Makes passing a lot easier.
4-line cars trying to rebound. They've been in some strong positions this year, but had a few, very rare for them, driveline issues for a couple of races there, and only one of their drivers in the top 10 in points. For a strange year for 4-line.
They're having a busy weekend here at Watkins Glen, debuting an Audi R8 Grand Am edition in the Rolex Series, in addition to all the cars they're fielding in the Continental Tire Series.
Now we're hearing the 3rd penalty for speeding on pit lane for the 40.
Well, there's only 52 minutes left in this race, so he's going to run out of time to serve the penalties.
That's horrible. They have something wrong with their pit lane speed limit. Of course, one of those 3 penalties was avoidable contact. The other 2 have been speeding on pit lane, but not a good day.
See the damage there to the 45 car. That will act like a bit of a parachute down the long straightaways here at Watkins Glen, but strong run for these BMWs right now. We talk about it's time for them to come to the front. Right now, they're chasing down that Rum Bum machine. All of the adversity they've had today, they're leading this race, and they should be good on fuel, so they're looking strong.
Let's go to Justin Bell.
Yeah, I'm standing here with Mark Miller. I talked to you off camera when you got out of the car, and of course Stefan's having a fantastic run. It looks like you're controlling a lot of strategy right now, because he was quicker than Eversley for the last few laps, but he's holding a bit of pace right now.
Well, I think what happened is Steven figured out the track really, really quick and was able to put 2 really solid laps in, and he closed in pretty quick. We've got like 45 minutes left, and we're not quite sure we can make it on fuel. So we're just kind of sitting at bay. We've talked to the Compass 360 guys. Ryan's a good friend of ours. They do a great job. We're trying to do a better job, and we know Pierre's coming too. So we're going to try to keep our number 5 mod space up car close to the front, and hopefully it doesn't rain right away.
Yeah, I mean, but rain with the fuel for you could be the key ingredient here, just enough to slow the pace down. Obviously, it puts a lot of demands on Stefan when he's in the car. We'll follow it. I know you've got to keep on the headsets because there's a lot of action, guys.
Well, if Mark doesn't think he can go 45 minutes on fuel, he definitely has a problem, because officially there's over 50 minutes remaining in the race. The battle continues for the lead in the ST class at round 6. Have a look at that sky. It could be a wet Watkins Glen International in just a few minutes. You won't want to miss a thing. Stay with us. Welcome back to Watkins Glen in round 6 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge for 2013. Continental Tire 150. I'm Bob Varsha with Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader. Brian Till, Darren Law, and Justin Bell are on the pit lane. You're watching the battle for the lead in the ST class, and it's already swapped a couple of times. Ryan Eversley with headlights on has it. Steve McAleer wants it. Let's get more on the leader's fuel situation with Darren.
Hey guys, the 75 car is borderline on fuel. They say if they get a yellow, if they get some rain, if they have something that'll help them, they'll be good, but they don't know if they're going to make it. As far as the 77 car that's in pit lane right now, he said he got hit by a GS car and pushed him off the track.
Well, we'll show you that in just a moment. You could say it's been an interesting day thus far for this Compass 360 team. First, the passes. Eversley against McAleer. Watch the car ahead as Eversley gets into the corner.
Just a little wiggle pushes him out wide as he catches it. Steven pounces.
He's not done. Here comes Eversley. He responds. They get onto the back straightaway. McAleer, remember, trying to save a bit of fuel, but we understand now that Eversley's going to need to do the same thing. Maybe sitting in that catbird seat is the place to be, Dorsey.
Well, he's been back there getting the help of the draft the whole way. If we get a caution or rain, that'll help also.
Good thing the 75's on the lead, because this is the sister car, the 77, just turned to the fence, as you heard Darren Law report.
Aaron Pomalito right there gets turned by Rebel Rock Porsche.
And that's the car Pomalito is sharing with David Delanius, making his return to the series following his big crash in the opener at Daytona. There's the overall race leader, Matt Plum. His race
3.5-second lead now, Bob, over Sellers, who's had a storming drive there up to the second spot, but Plum's pretty much controlling this, I think. He looks really good. Obviously, the incident that Longy had early in the race, it was just cosmetic, Dorsey, so it wouldn't be affecting the handling in any way, so the car should be 100%.
Somehow we've been dodging the range bullet. You know, it was really dark over here a couple laps back. Well, look at it now. It looks like we might get away.
Headlights on, gentlemen. Pretty dark down there in the boot.
That's the worst condition, you know, Calvin. Part of the racetrack to be wet, and the other part totally dry, and you be the first one to get there to find it out.
That's right. You're the guinea pig, and other people can read the body language of your race car. If you start to slide a little bit, they can get out of the power a little bit sooner.
There's the leader. Lapped ST car between them, and here comes Brian Sellers in the fall line BMW.
Sellers' car looks better as far as the wear and tear on the bodywork, but quite honestly, that rum-bum Porsche with that dent in the front might actually be helping its cause aerodynamically, and this is an aero track for sure.
Believe our leaders here, the GS leaders, should be good on fuel. A big question mark is Hugh Plum in third. I think he's definitely going to have to hit pit lane.
Oh, it's going to be dicey up here. These guys getting passed on the outside.
Look at Kleinubing coming. He's nearly caught these two leaders. So there we're looking at Eversley, McAleer, and here comes Kleinubing in the 31. Oh, really deep. He's not wasting any time.
No, they knew he was coming too. They were talking about it before, that Pierre would be a guy to reckon with, multi-champion.
He is hooked up, Dorsey. That little Mazda is hooked up right now. He's flying.
He's making mincemeat of these guys, just flying through.
He's one of the best in the business.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, like I said, he's been champion in these type of cars in many different series.
Imagine Pierre Kleinubing probably thinks it's go time, especially if the weather's closing in.
Steven wants to fight back. He's trying an outside, but he's going to have company from Grand Sport car getting in the way.
Well,
look at this from the outside.
Just grip, just looking for that grip level. Good run by McAleer there. He got great bite there coming off the toe of the boot.
He did. He took the long way around, kept his momentum up, and really had a good shot off that corner.
Meanwhile, Lawson Aschenbach and Black Camaro is thinking, will you guys just sort this out so I can get by?
Yeah, it's frustrating. You get these mixed classes in there on a wet racetrack, and it gets really narrow and slippery, and you have to go offline where it's slippery to make the pass.
All these ST leaders, the top three, all pitted on the same lap, so they're all in the same fuel situation. Obviously, three different race cars, which may get different fuel economy. That may be a factor here if we stay green. 22 laps on the board right now and 42 minutes to go. So that's going to equate to about an hour and a half on fuel, and these ST cars are normally good for about an hour 20, hour 25, so they're definitely going to need to save a little bit here.
Well, we have our second two-time winners of the season. Stick around to find out. Just under 42 minutes remaining. The Continental Tire 150 at Watkins Glen. We'll take a break and return. It always rains at Watkins.
You're not kidding, it does. And it is raining at Watkins Glen.
On board with Brian Sellers, the second place car, the overall. To the right, there goes the short course at Watkins Glen, but we're headed to the boot here in the Continental Tire Series.
This sealer that they're talking about being put down is like an ice skating. It's fun to drive on, but boy, you got to be on top of your game here.
You do, and Sellers is really hooked up. He's caught Matt Plum a little bit, closed the gap to the front. He's got to deal with some ST traffic right now before he can see him again.
See him work outside that concrete patch. He stayed all the way to the left of it the whole time.
Some great battling in the ST class here today, and there's been a change of lead, Bob. Here we go, going up through the S's.
Oh, that's a really risky place to do a deal like this. But
Klein-Nubing in the 31.
Of course, it's Klein-Nubing.
Yep. Brian Eversley in the 75.
There's Plum.
Now we're dry over here. This is where it gets pretty tricky.
There's Sellers.
Down with Imoto, Jason Clooney shares that car with Pierre Klein-Nubing, the 31. Jason, you had a good run in the early going and got to run in the rain a little bit. What is Pierre facing out there right now?
Well, just drastically changing conditions, and it's really difficult because the back part of the track has been getting quite wet, and then you come around to the front and it's so dry and you got so much grip. So, I mean, you want to be aggressive to stay up at the front, but when you get to the back, you're not quite sure what you're going to get when you come around the corner. So.
Well, and it's wet right now just about everywhere. A change to rain tires, would that be something that Pierre be looking for right now? I know you guys got a little extra horsepower this weekend, but Pierre was saying, I'd rather have the rain than the horsepower. Is this exactly what he wants?
Well, I think we would rather have the rain than the horsepower. The horsepower is not very much. I think it's only like 3 or 4 horsepower, but I mean, the car is really good in the rain, and Pierre's really good. Well, Pierre's good wet or dry.
2012 champion Pierre Klein-Nubing looking for a little redemption for a bad finish at Mid-Ohio.
We've got action on track.
Trouble everywhere. We've had a 3 or 4 car spin. You just see right now the 96 gets going again with the flame out the exhaust. That was just, he heads for pit lane, cuts across. Might get in trouble for that one, Calvin.
Yeah, well, let's have a look here. He's battling it out with Hugh Plum here, and the rain has really increased here over the last couple of minutes. They go into this final turn.
On the brakes, Plum goes around and gets into the 96.
Yeah, Plum spun into the back of the 96, turned it too.
And I think what Billy's doing here, not so much damage to the car. It took him a while to get it refired, essentially, but to get those rains on, he realizes that these conditions are not conducive to staying on the island with slick tires.
Not sure what to think about. We got 2 more cars on GT leader.
Both of the ST leaders
are off, and both of them through the gravel trap and continue on.
Oh, there's another one. It's one of the hot cars.
Alert the harbor master.
And another one.
Wow. Yeah, you just can't keep it on the island in these conditions on slick tires. I mean, the guys have been doing such a tremendous job all day long, but these conditions, doesn't matter how slow you go.
Damage underneath the 31 in the front. I don't know if that was radiator hose related or if it's just under panel. We got a full course caution now, which you had to know was coming because there's cars off everywhere.
It's hard to believe how slow you have to go to keep on the racetrack when you're on slick tires in these conditions, Dorsey. You just think you're at a crawl and the car will still go straight.
Oh, we've got the 61. That's Billy Johnson.
The 2 Roush cars got together, it looks like, and Johnson is upside down.
Joey Atterbury.
And another one's going to hit it.
Oh, no.
There's why you don't unbuckle. I mean, you're sitting in that car upside down, you want out. You don't want to get it unbuckled right there. Look, there's going to be more. I mean, they got to get another one upside down.
This is turn 6.
Downhill off of the old turn 5, going down that left-hander.
It's downhill, and that exaggerates the problem there.
You see the caution light flashing. Wow, our 3rd full course caution of the race.
As you said, Dorsey, if you're getting out of the car and you're halfway out and you get hit, that is
that's terrible.
Potentially
hopefully
really.
You know, you're on your lid and you want to get out from underneath that car, and the only way to do is release your seatbelt. But when you do that, and you're so vulnerable to get hit by another car like that, and it's hopefully he was up in that seat where you're protected.
Heavy rain virtually all the way around Watkins Glen. What were you saying during the break, Calvin? You were so impressed with the driving and the damp conditions.
Yeah. But suddenly you just get this much water on there. The car's just aquaplane. There's no braking ability. There's no steering ability. And you're just along for the ride. And you slow it down like 90% and you think you're absolutely crawling and the car will just go straight on you.
Yeah, you can't blame the driver's side. What you were saying before, I mean, the caution was out. They knew there was something there. You slow up to what you think is a reasonable pace, but I mean, it just not drivable.
The gamble now is, Bob, is here we're looking at all the
That's
cars
the ST leaders up on top of the hill. They went through the gravel trap. Now they're still first and second in ST, and they continued on, but this was just the beginning of a melee of cars having trouble.
You saw Kleinubing made it to the pit entrance, but then stopped there. This is the scene of Billy Johnson's accident.
I'll be interested to see what people do here, because you got to think about this. You think, okay, I need wet tires, but looking at the clock and looking at how much cleanup there is to do, if you can just survive on those slick tires and maintain your track position, do you go in that direction, or do you think, no, we're going to go back to green, got to get those wets on? This is a tough one for the pit lane to call.
If they're looking at our broadcast and they see these cars that are on the roof, it's going to take some time. You know, you got at least 5 laps, I'd say, of grace period to try to analyze what you want to do next. They're going to have to take those 2 cars that are upside down, get them righted around, and then, you know, it's going to be a long caution for sure.
Still raining lightly in the pit lane. Billy Johnson is out of the car.
Great news.
That is a huge relief. We'll break it down for you when we return to Watkins Glen International. Things getting very dicey here in the Continental Tire 150. Back at Watkins Glen, let's get you up to speed, and it's going to take a minute. Ha! The skies opened and chaos broke out.
Here come our ST leaders. Look at the ride that Kleinubing comes. Here comes Eversley. He thinks, I can take position here.
Passing under
just
yellow.
gives him traction.
That's not fair. But he's going to give it back right here.
Same corner. Just a moment later, here's the 197.
Just no hope at this stage, guys. 0-0 grip.
More serious was this incident. Spinners
down at turn 6.
Atterbury, and here comes his teammate, Billy Johnson, a big one.
Gets that one upside down. That traps Atterbury, who did get away. You see right there, and it's a good thing he did, because watch it.
And then this.
We were hoping at that point Billy was still in his seat and buckled up. He was. And it's not over yet, because now we got the Porsche here, the 50. Another roll.
Billy Johnson got out.
Gives him a cheer. He gives him a wave. Says, I'm okay. But the Mustang, on the other hand.
Look at the damage to that Mustang.
Not so good.
Justin Piscitelli was in the BMW, but he had nowhere to go. Skidded off and nailed Billy Johnson's Mustang. And we still have just under 24 minutes remaining in this race. Will they get it cleaned up in time to go green? And when they do on this sopping wet racetrack, what'll happen next? Stick around to find out.
Been one of those days.
Oh, boy. It looks like the rain has let up. We've got coming up on 14 minutes to go in the race. Lights are still on the safety car. Let's take this opportunity for a race recap.
Well, here we see right on the opening lap is Nick Longy getting into the back of Matt Bell, and that's the championship leader and the second place car in the points as well, involved in that one. So you can see the repair they did, and they've done a good one. They've gotten back on the lead lap.
Pretty scary wreck here, though, Calvin. Derek Whitus gets the worst of this as the Freedom Autosports Mazda collects the end of the pit wall barrier. Watch this.
Into the crash barrels, and then the Armado.
Lucky the hit wasn't more direct. A kind of glancing blow there off those sand barrels. Here we see the 9-car exhaust damage from that tab in the rear from Nick Longy.
They had to remove one side about 4 foot of it, and they opened this one back up.
Even Boss going for a ride here.
Suspension failure there. Lucky he had a gravel trap to stop him.
Just 2 cars entered by APR. There's the other one.
Yeah.
Caught the barrier. End of the race for them.
Watch the holler. Someone's getting away.
And that's scary, actually, because if one of those corner workers wasn't paying attention behind the car, that potentially is a really, really bad situation.
Traction issues in the wet.
Tim Fleck with a harmless spin, luckily that time.
Pit strategy was playing its part during the course of the day. You see the Turner Motorsports car, Billy Orblin, coming down pit lane as Matt Plum now takes the lead.
And yes, it was actually sunshiny at one point. Ryan Eversley battling with Stephen McAleer. McAleer goes under in the 5, but at the top of the hill on the back straight, Eversley came right back by.
Pavolita with a back into the guardrail, 360, continued on.
Reported in that he got tipped into that spin by a GS car. You see cars already in the gravel trap. Here comes the ST leader, Pierre Kleinubing, getting big air.
Watch the right of the screen. Here's Ryan Eversley. He went along for a ride as well. He think, I got him, I got him, I got him. And then right now, he cannot get traction.
Don't got him. Then it went all haywire all over the racetrack as the rain fell.
197, same place on the track.
This was the scariest moment right here as this all starts to go bad. The Roush Mustangs, first Joey Atterbury, then watch Billy Johnson hit, and upside down he goes.
Scary, scary stuff. Downhill, high-speed section of the racetrack.
This was a scary moment.
Oscatelli clips him. Fortunately, Billy was still strapped in, and he was okay. He climbs out of the car, and he was okay, but not before this happened. Another one of the Porsches goes for a roll.
Billy waves to the crowd. They were cheering to see him get out. We were too. We were really concerned. Look at that Mustang. I mean, I think we need a new car, Dad.
We've still got 11 minutes remaining. Will we be able to go green? Field is under control. We're ready. See if race control is. We'll be back in a moment to Watkins Glen. Stay with us for more of the Continental Tire 150. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. Heavy clouds overhead, but the rain appears to have stopped. Lights are still on the safety car on our third full course caution of the race.
Tell you one thing, if we get back to green, there's going to be a charge to get to the front because there's no guarantee it will finish under green. So you've got to make hay while you can and have the opportunity and try and get to the front of the pack.
That's a good point. As a betting man, you would bet there's going to be a caution when you know some of this field is still on slick.
Absolutely.
Some of them are on dries. The guys on dries should have a huge advantage, but they're still going to have to deal with the fact that we could be cautioned after 2 corners.
Top 4 cars in the field in GS remain on slick tires. So Plum, Sellers, Espenlaub, and Edwards. First car, as we understand it, is Hugh Plum. He's 5th in line. He has got wet weather tires on, as is Maxwell Kazimitz and the rest of the boys.
And an ST, Stephen McAleer, who've been watching the Mazda, is on slicks. So is Ryan Eversley and Michael Valiente, but they're in front-wheel drive cars.
Let's find out what it was like when the worst of the rain hit. Justin Bell is with us. Go ahead, Justin.
Shelby, as you said, it was going so good. And that was obviously when the downpour came, it just really had no option. It just slid off and did a bit of damage, as you said.
Yes, from what the TV showed, it just seems like we just kind of hydroplaned off, and our sister car, Billy Johnson, 61, he went off and actually had a bigger crash than us. And luckily, we're still out there, and hopefully we can finish this green flag. I heard they're going back green, so hopefully we can just stay out there and survive and collect some points.
So he's now on wets, obviously. So, I mean, Joey has the advantage if it stays like it is right now to maybe push, because the top 3 or 4 cars, I believe, are on slick. So it's just going to be go time, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's after this last lap, we lost about a quarter of the field just in the last lap. So I'm hoping we get a good jump and get up towards the front.
All right, let you get back on the headsets because I know you're talking to him. All right, guys?
All right, thank you, Justin. It's reasonably...
Yeah, I mean, it's still wetter than when these slick tires were still effective, Dorsey. So there's going to be some areas of this racetrack they're really going to be skating around. I don't think to the degree that we saw everyone fly off the racetrack when the conditions were at their worst, but definitely going to be tough sledding for these guys.
There's the leader in ST, Stephen McAleer, and we believe that substantially all of the ST cars remaining are on slicks. Let's get down to the pit lane and Brian Till.
Guys, I checked in on the 31 and the 96. Both of those cars had damage and offs during that heavy rain. So the 31 is behind the wall. They are out. The 96 got hit by one of the fall line BMWs, and they have right rear subframe damage. And we're also going to check in with the 9 with Mike Johnson here in just a moment. But a lot of people getting caught out by this rain.
Yeah, Orblin was looking okay because he made that dive for pit lane, got some wets on, but he's obviously feeling something adrift because he had to make another pit stop, which has dropped him well down the order.
Let's get back down to Brian.
Mike Johnson here at Stevenson Motorsports. You're one of the few guys out here that says, let's go back racing, and you've got slicks on your car, but your point is we need time to get this thing underway. The caution laps, you feel, are taking way too long.
Yeah, I mean, we've been under yellow for 30 minutes now. The accident, obviously, glad everybody's okay. Pretty big deal. But, I mean, that was all cleared up 15 minutes ago. They're doing 9-minute yellows here.
It's almost like, and then there's supposed to be a rule. They open the pits for all cars in less than 20 minutes. We did an extra lap to open GS, then ST. So it seems like to me they've decided upstairs that they wanted to end this race under yellow, and that's what it's looking like now, unfortunately, because we got a pretty good car, and John's pretty good in the wet, as we've seen. He was really reeling them in. So just unfortunate, but we'll go to the next one.
Yeah, they're looking to, Mike said, hey, we got a championship to win. We can't win it if we stay behind this pace car, Darren.
Yeah, and speaking with Larry Holt, technical director for Multimatic, they want this thing to go green. They're one of the front cars or the lead cars on the wets, and so that would be ideal for them. But then after speaking with David Embergham, he said the Astons are pretty tough to hang on to in the wet. They're quite twitchy in the water, so it's kind of a toss-up.
Well, we're hearing that the lights are out on the pace car, so maybe Mike Johnson is going to get his wish. The reason he wants to go green racing is the guys they're chasing in the championship with an 11-point lead coming in continue to lead. That's the guy at the front of the pack, of course, Matt Plum. Some lap cars in between these guys, so these are all GS cars. There's a couple of lap cars in between Edwards and our leader.
You know, looking at this deal, when they get that green flag, if they get it this lap, it's going to be one lap. You know, we're running out of time, guys. It's 3:40, and these are at the bottom of the boot right now. They got to go halfway back up that racetrack to get that green flag. It's going to be one lap sprint. Everybody for himself.
They're down in the boot here. They've still got a ways to go to get back to the start-finish line.
You know, they're running fastest race laps at like 2 minutes in 2 or something like that. And we're going to be right about that number when we get this green going.
See a patch of sunlight in the background. That's the kind of day it's been at Watkins Glen.
Checking the traction here. Listen to that. Let's see what kind of grip we got this last lap.
Sellers has got nothing to lose. He's not really in the championship hunt. He just wants to put one in the win column. He's got to clear this traffic right in front of him. The 158 car of Ian James. Very experienced driver. I'm hoping that he'll clear the way for Brian Sellers to maybe attack our leader.
One time around, I think this is going to be wild. Hold on.
Sellers needs Ian James to go, or at least get out of the way. Remember, as soon as it's green, you can start to pass anywhere on the racetrack now. You don't have to wait for the stripe this year. That's a change in the rules.
Will they get one lap or two?
Might get a couple. I'm not
Maybe.
sure. It's going to be tight.
It's going to be really tight. They're going to have to really haul this first lap.
Is it going to stay green? That's the bigger question, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Up on the point. We talked about them at the top of the show. The Rum Bum team looking for their third victory of the year. Nobody else has more than one. Green flag. There's Nick Longy watching his teammate. And here we go.
Look at Sellers. He has got a run on Matt Plum for the lead of this race.
He's got him.
I hope they didn't call it a jump start. He timed it really good.
Plum's
side by side.
He's trying to come back. Where's the grip going to be? The outside, the inside? No. Sellers on the power early.
Up through the S's on what may be the final lap of the race.
Can we stay green? I mean, this whole lap.
Remember, these guys are on slick tires when it gets to the really wet parts of the racetrack. Here comes Edwards. Charging hard, and that's the next car, the B Positive Foundation car. That's Hugh Plum, the first of the runners on wets. That yellow machine right in the middle of the screen.
Sellers opens a pretty nice lead, too, on the Rum Bum Porsche.
Tippy-toeing through the inner loop. Sellers squirming. He goes wide.
He does, and look at Espenlaub. He's got a good run there in the third spot. He's putting pressure on Plum.
BMWs look good here in the wet.
Boys are earning their money right now. We're hearing this is the final lap of the race.
And it's also the slipperiest part of the racetrack. We're going right down the hill.
Slick tires. Remember what happened before down in this area.
This could be an all skate.
Look at that, looking for grip around the outside. That may be Kazimitz in one of those Astons.
It was, yeah, with Edwards.
I think there's Maxwell in there as well. How much will Matt Plum put on the line? Remember, he's leading this championship. Will he risk it going for the win right now?
I think he's looking big picture, quite honestly, Cal.
Here's McAleer. Here comes Eversley. Eversley looking to lead.
McAleer to the outside gets the grip he needs.
Back to the front. Brian Sellers and Mark Bowden have never won one of these races. Right now, they've got their best shot.
And a slip by the BMW. Nowhere to go with the speed, though.
Here comes Hugh Plum. He's starting to get some traction now with those wet tires. He's up to third. He's got around Espenlaub. Can he do anything with 2 corners to go?
Oh, Brian Sellers just wrestling with that BMW. It just does not want to go where he wants it to, but he's able to keep the Porsche behind him.
Watch that car in third. He's on wet weather tires. Can he do anything? It's getting really late in this lap.
One more corner to the checkered flag.
Sellers with two brothers behind him.
Checkered flag waves, and Brian Sellers and Mark Bowden will take the GS and overall victory here at the Continental Tire 150. There's Stephen McAleer, no sign of Ryan Eversley.
Oh, something must have gone on there. He gets an easy win.
There's Eversley. Yep. He crossed the line in second. That's big points for him, who came in leading this championship. McAleer gets his second win of the year.
The Fall Line crew celebrating a maiden win for the 46.
Beautiful drive there by Brian Sellers. Put it all on the line. He realized it was go time. He had the championship leader to overtake.
Did it with a rear-wheel drive car over front-wheel drive, so he was up on the wheel for sure.
And Nick Longy talking over the run bump team. They went for the points today. Smart move under the circumstances, rather than risking it all in the final corners. There you see your top three in each class unofficially. We'll be back. What a day at Watkins Glen. Plenty of water. Let's get down to a soggy victory lane. Brian Till is with our winners.
Brian Sellers climbing out. Mark Bowden here. And Mark, while Brian's celebrating over there, I'll go to you first because you're standing right here. As hard as this is for me to believe, this is your first win in all the years that Fall Line has been up top. This is your first victory. How does it feel?
This is my first victory, and it is awesome. It is just flat out awesome. First, my team gets a Stanley Cup, and then this. The cup is over full. Brian did a great job. The whole team was awesome. The car was great. Thanks to Trim Techs for all their support. They're a wonderful company and have helped us so much. And wow, what a race.
Yeah, wow, what a race. I mean, wow is the description of that last lap. I mean, for you, Brian, I know everybody's wondering, are we going to go back green? Are we going to go back green? And then you get the call that we're going to go in one lap. You had one lap to get it done and one lap to stay in front. How difficult was it?
Well, it was extremely difficult. I mean, the Fall Line guys and everyone at the Trim Techs Fall Line car had to talk me down a little bit because I wanted the thing originally to kind of go checker. And as soon as they gave the call, hey, it's time, we're going one green, your mindset has to change. And you know, we were able to bring it home for everyone. And I can't believe how well Continental tires worked in these conditions. It was, you know, the conditions were terrible, and, you know, we still got it done.
Congratulations, guys. Let's go to the winners in ST with Justin.
Yep, Steve McAleer, Mark Miller in their number 5 Mazda. I mean, Stephen first, I mean, that was such a demanding drive for you, and you came out on top.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was such changing conditions all weekend. CJ Wilson Race had put on a magnificent car for us. And, yeah, I mean, super excited to be where we are. We've had a little bit of bad luck. But the Mod Space MX-5 is back on the podium where it should be.
So, Mark, the luck has definitely changed, but you were wound up nervous watching that.
Yeah, you know, I have utmost faith in this guy. He always pulls through. We both love the rain, and we kind of were hoping for the rain. It played out a little different than what we had planned it, but certainly you can't plan on the rain. So we're happy to bring CJ another win. Definitely Mod Space and then Mazda. The car was awesome today, and the Continental tires were awesome. Wet or dry, as long as you could keep heat in them, man, they were awesome.
A very deserving ST winners, guys.
And only appropriate that we have sunshine over victory lane. So first-time winners in GS, our first two-time winners of the season in ST. And we'll hear from more of the players in the Continental Tire 150 from Watkins Glen in just a moment. Welcome back to Watkins Glen, New York. After an amazing wet-dry race, here are the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge standings in GS after 6 rounds.
Well, we talk about the run bump team ticking all of the boxes. They came back from adversity today with a second-place run. They've extended their lead over Edwards and Bell from 11. It's now 18 points.
And in the ST.
Halfway through the year so far, Ryan Eversley and Kyle Gimple, 15 points back. Mike Momara, Kerry Borscheller, Andrew Carbonell up in third.
Now let's hear from our runners-up and championship leaders in GS. Here's Darren Law.
Nick Longy, you guys had a hell of a race there. You're up front, you hit somebody, you fell back.
It was crazy. This whole credit to this goes to the team 100%. We never give up, keep going. I apologize to the whole Stevenson team. Kind of got in the back of their car there. One of them racing deals, as they say. Matt Plum's a rock star to get it to the front, and the team is just wild. It's fantastic.
And Matt Plum, hey man, I know how it is driving on slicks in the wet. Tell us about the end of that race.
I think Continental's developed a new slick rain tire. I mean, we worked really hard to get the car balanced both on dry and in the wet, and this was the you know, that was how we got to the front. Really sorry to the Stevenson guys. You know, I know we never intend to do things like that, and I hope they didn't get pushed back too far because of it. But you know, thanks to Louis Picardi, Rum Bum Racing once again prevails.
Wow, great drive, guys. That, like I said, that's a tough one in the wet. Brian?
Well, ST, every bit as exciting as Grand Sport. Kyle Gempel, Ryan Eversley, you come in with the championship lead. Now you extend it. Kyle, I want to know what was more difficult, driving the car or watching Ryan on that last lap on the restart?
It would definitely have to be watching him. I mean, that rain came and we were stayed out on slicks, and I'm just going, just go back to green, let it dry out. This track dries really quickly, and I'd say by far I have to be watching him, especially after he did that off and at the heel of the boot. It was like, oh, here we go.
Well, and you told me you've never finished this well after crashing.
That's correct. Like you say, I mean, the Continental tires are so good that it was pouring rain and we stayed on slicks and ended up, I think the top 3 cars are on slicks in our class. So our slick Continental tires were better than Rain's for others. So that was pretty awesome. Yeah, we crashed and then actually ended up on the podium. Valiante, Kleine being Owen. I think that's how Steven got me back, is actually he got me when we went off in the gravel. So hats off to those guys. They're really good dudes, and we're happy to finish on the podium and extend our points lead.
Well, congratulations, guys. Another very exciting Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Series race. Justin?
Yeah, standing here, Michael Valiente, obviously great third place there. That was a race where literally circumstances changed at every lap. Third place you must be happy with.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we didn't have the best stop, and we went back to 12th, and we were able to work our way up. But I thought Daytona was difficult when it went rain, dry, but that was crazy.
So obviously come out of here with some good points and head to the next race. A lot of lessons learned here about how this season's going to go, I think.
Yeah, like I said, you know, after Mid-Ohio, we kind of made a turning point. We had another good qualifying today. Michael did an outstanding job in these conditions. I mean, you know, I'm super happy to come home with third. We're going to Indy next. We had the pole there last year, and I think our car will be strong there too. So,
well, congratulations to you both, guys.
All right, thanks very much. What a day, what a race.
It was crazy, but at the end of the day, the championship leaders did what they had to do. They've extended their lead in really tricky conditions, Dorsey, and that's what it's all about over the long haul.
Wildest race of the year. I mean, the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge was a real challenge. Mother Nature threw curveballs all day, and these teams worked hard to get done what they did today. My hat's off to them.
And as you heard Chad say, the next one is the big one. We move on to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for round 7. Check it out August 3rd at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Incredible day here at Watkins Glen. We thank you for joining us here for round 6 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge for 2013. For Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Justin Bell, Darren Law, and Brian Till, I'm Bob Varsha. We'll see you from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in August. The day started in sunshine. We saw several heavy rain showers, some incredible accidents. Fortunately, everyone emerged unhurt. Look for more of this kind of action from Indy when we see you again. And until then, so long from Watkins Glen International.